I just want to say how wonderful, truly wonderful it was earlier in the service to just hear the chatter and humanness of our kids over here, and how wonderful that we have infants in our sanctuary. We love it. A young person approached the rabbi and asked, "What is the most important thing of all?" The spiritual teacher thought for a moment and then replied, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others." That is the summation of all the teachings in the Holy Book. All the rest is commentary. What is hateful to you, do not do to others. That reminds me of something the Dalai Lama once said. When asked to summarize the essence of his faith, the Dalai Lama stated, "My religion is kindness." In these complicated and chaotic days, when at times it all gets so overwhelming, I find it makes sense to simplify. If we want to avoid contributing to our nation's divisiveness and discourse of disrespect, it is best to get back to basics. My religion is kindness. Treat others as you want to be treated. That's it in a nutshell. Unitarian Universalist minister and author Robert Fulghum wrote, "Most of what I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sandbox in nursery school. These are the things I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. The golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated." Sometimes religion can get so caught up in constructions of belief. Sometimes religion can get so bogged down in dogma. Sometimes religion can get so focused on the words that we use to describe ourselves that we forget that the purpose of religion is to expand the boundaries of our heart so we can love more fully. Sometimes, most times, religion makes things more complex than it needs to be. In these complicated and chaotic days, when at times it all gets so overwhelming, it makes sense to simplify. If we want to avoid contributing to our nation's divisiveness and discourse of disrespect, it is best to go back to the basics. My religion is kindness. Treat others as you want to be treated. Could you say that with me? My religion is kindness. Treat others as you want to be treated. At the start of the day, we can remind ourselves, today I will treat others as I want to be treated. In the middle of our days, we can ask ourselves, am I treating others as I want to be treated? At the end of the day, we can look back and ask ourselves, did I treat others as I want to be treated? Earlier in the service, Lori shared these thoughts as part of her chalice lighting words. She was honest. She told us, I became aware of how I was neglecting to apply this simple principle to my own life. Though old as mud and common as Canada geese for most cultures and religions, it is nonetheless profound, and if practiced, I think it could save the world. Laurie went on to say, still, as I observed myself and reflected over these last weeks, I repeatedly displayed behaviors counter to the wisdom of the ages. I chose impatience with a struggling customer service representative. Can anybody relate to that? Yes. Shortness with my husband, anger at a hesitant driver, eye-rolling at another's opinion different than mine. Anybody ever do that? We probably did it this week. Withholding kindness when annoyed with a friend. And the list goes on. Lord made me look back on my week, and I have to confess that I had one such moment last week when my neighbor pulled out of his driveway in his oversized white pickup truck with a massive MAGA flag flying from the back. My first reaction, disgust, mingled with some fear. My second reaction was to silently shout at him two very unministerial words. And I'm going to leave it to your imagination to determine what those two words were. Yes, I know you're thinking of that. But as I silently shouted at him, I noticed that two things were happening in me. I realized that I was othering him, making him the other. Making him someone outside the circle of my care, making him someone less than human, making him someone less than me. I was doing to him exactly what I imagined his beliefs were doing to others. The second thing that I noticed was that there was a bit of hatred rising in me. Hatred for what that MAGA flag stands for, and hatred for my neighbor who is part of that belief system. But if my religion is kindness, if I want to treat others as I want to be treated, then othering and hatred are not the most skillful reactions to this guy, his truck, and his flag. Later that day, I came across a poem by activist and healer Adrienne Marie Brown. The poem is entitled, Stop Hating, a Spell. Adrienne Marie Brown writes, let me pull the weed by the root and notice the soil I stand on. Is this necessary vitriol? Is this what I choose now to rant on? Is there nothing to build and nothing to grow, no more to offer up? Would you say the words of this poem with me? Let me pull the weed by the root and notice the soil I stand on. Is this a necessary vitriol? Is this what I choose now to rant on? Is there nothing to build and nothing to grow, no more to offer up? I remembered then those words of Sextus, the ancient Greek philosopher. What you wish for your neighbors to be to you, such be also to them. I remembered then those words once written on the ancient papyrus in Egypt. That which you hate to be done to you, do not do to another. Would you be willing to say those two with me? What you wish your neighbor to be to you, such be also to them. That which you hate to be done to you, do not do to another. In her brilliant new book, Sacred Nature, celebrated religious scholar Karen Armstrong writes, "The golden rule was developed independently by the great religious traditions. It seems deeply rooted in human morality. It requires us to do something most of us don't want to do. It requires us to look into our hearts, identify what causes us pain, and then refuse to inflict that on anyone else. What's more, this benevolence cannot be confined to our own friendly group that agrees with us. It has to be applied to everybody without exception. Yes, even to my neighbor with the big pickup truck and that flag. Compassion," she writes, should be the essence of religion and morality. And compassion is essential to the survival of humanity. That we constantly fail to put it effectively into practice is perhaps not surprising, as it insists that we dethrone ourselves from the center of our world. It requires us to regard others as equal to ourselves and refuse to put ourselves into a privileged category. It requires us to deem the needs, the desires, and ambitions of our fellow human beings to be as valuable as our own. Karen Armstrong goes on to say, "One of the first to enunciate the golden rule was the great Chinese philosopher Confucius, for whom it was the essence of what he called Rian. Rian could be summed up in two words. The first, dutifulness, which is fulfilling one's obligation to another, and consideration, the ability to put oneself imaginably in the place of another person and then act accordingly." Armstrong goes on to say, if we put continuously into practice, not just when we feel like it, but if we did this all day, every day, and that's a quote from Confucius, all day, every day, Confucius believed Rian would change the world. For Confucians, Rian was a power that emanates from a person, and then it affects everybody around them. Confucians were not working to edify to their own benefit, but they employed these virtues to develop a wider social ecosystem based on respect. Confucius reminds us of the importance of human dignity, that every person, whatever her rank, race, or creed, is worthy of respect. Every person, regardless of who they are, deserves respect. Unitarian Universalists share that belief. One of the 6 core values of our Unitarian Universalist faith says that, quote, "We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion." Later, Confucians expanded this level of respect beyond human beings to include the natural world, teaching about the oneness of all things on this earth and our responsibility to the greater whole. Karen Armstrong notes, "Concern for the natural environment follows naturally from respect and reverence for humanity." Confucian philosopher Mencius taught, "The more you become aware of the sanctity of your fellow human beings, the easier it becomes to perceive the sanctity of other non-human beings and then love them too. You begin to understand that this holiness is also present in all things of nature." And thus, the human ethic, do to others as you would have done to you, expands to become do to the planet as we would have done to us. And Unitarian Universalists have that belief. One of the 6 core values of Unitarian Universalism says this clearly: we honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. Those are powerful words, my friends. Care, respect, mutuality, and justice. Just think of those 4 words in the context of the next 58 days. Dear ones, the next 58 days are going to be hard days. Election Day is 58 days away. During this time, we are going to feel hopeful. During this time, we are going to feel fearful, for the stakes are very high indeed. The days and weeks and months after Election Day are going to be hard. No matter the result of the vote, no matter the result of the Electoral College, the days and weeks and months after Election Day are going to be hard. In these complicated and chaotic days, when at times it all gets so overwhelming, it makes sense for us to simplify. If we do not want to contribute to our nation's divisiveness and discourse of disrespect, it is best to go back to the basics. Our religion is kindness. Treat others as we want to be treated. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.